All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bro Stop Yelling podcast. I am Ammo and I am your host. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves, but we're going to start off and we're going to give Ant a chance for redemption here because he quite clearly can't figure out this introduction. So, Ant,
All right,
why don't you do your introduction here, bud?
here we go. Third time's a charm. Hey, Sousa. It was
Hey.
close. All
Let's
right, here we
go.
go.
Let's
We were
go.
close. We were close. All right. Follow me, A Sousa 203. My name is Anthony. Philly fan. Still sitting at the top of the division. Still sitting at the top of the NFL, 8-1, and we're gonna send it down to Dre.
What up, y'all? It's Dre here, and I gotta get like these two up above me and get my actual at so y'all can follow me. But let's get into this talk, man. Let's get into this chat.
And
It's
Kenny.
going 1-7. We're here. Hey, everybody. Nice to have you.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So we've got some topics that we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about the unders. A lot of these unders have been hitting this year. The NFL obviously wants more scoring because it's more exciting, higher ratings. So that's why they make rule changes to favor the offense. But the unders have been hitting a lot more frequently nonetheless. So Dre, I'm gonna let you start off and see what you have to say about what's going on here.
No, definitely appreciate that ammo. It's definitely the year of the under, right? Out of 153 games played this year, 83 have gone under the predicted score. That's a percentage of 61 and a half, which is the highest percent I think in the last 30 plus years. So, and through the first 9 weeks, that is. So, needless to say, it's not just a thought or just people being frustrated because their bets aren't hitting. Like this is actual numbers behind it. And then I try to think of like what could be the reason for this, right? Like to your point, Ammo, all of the NFL rule changes seem to be in favor of the offense. Offense sells tickets. In this day and age, offense wins championships too. Like I think so. That's a big part of a focus really for the league. So I mean, when I look at it, I really think that the unders are a cause of like the league really being top heavy, right? Like there aren't as many like good dominant teams. Like look at the NFC. Outside of three teams, you can't really look at any of them and say they're a true Super Bowl contender. Like that's pretty low of a percentage. In the AFC, yeah, we talk about it being a gauntlet and this and that, but there's a lot of great defenses in the in the AFC right now. You got the Chiefs that are operating at a high level, the Jets defense, Steelers defense, all those AFC, the Browns, right? You got a lot of great defenses as well. So I think it's a combination of that. The fact that the league is top heavy, and in the more dominant conference right now, there's a lot of top defenses as to why we're seeing so many under.
No, before we pass this on, I wanted to just ask: do you think that the scoring is actually down across the league, or do you think that scoring has been going up at such a pace that they're setting these over-unders at higher numbers, predicting that it'll be a little bit higher, and that's why more unders are hitting, and scoring really hasn't changed that much? Do you know if there is any correlation there, if you've looked into that side of it at all?
I haven't looked into that side, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I bet the over unders every single week, and lately I've been hammering the unders, obviously. But when you look at them, they're usually in an NFL game. It's usually between 42 and 45. Typically, like when you see two teams, like when Miami and Kansas City played last week, I think
You
that
see
one
in the
was set at
50s.
50. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was like 50 and a half, right? So I think for the most part, like the NFL has it, or the I should say Vegas has it kind of figured out. Where I don't think that it's just because scoring is up in the league. I really do think It's just the fact that it's so unpredictable week in and week out. I mean, we do our weekly pick'ems, and every week we're getting about 50% of the games just because there's so much unexpected. Just because there isn't really that great of a talent level. So I think that it's
Maybe
more
you're getting
of
50%,
that.
but all right. But you have any other closing remarks on the under so far?
I just think that it's a trend that'll continue in the NFL, just from what I've seen. So hey, if you guys want to, put some action in, uh, unders, I think will be the wise bet moving
So
forward.
you don't predict a second half swing in points, starting to score more in the second half of the year.
See, obviously there's ups and downs. Like if you look at certain teams, right? Like for example, the Texans. I think that's a team that's starting to figure it out where they were kicking a lot of field goals and they're starting to turn those into touchdowns. But I think there's more teams that are on the downward trend. A lot of backup quarterbacks that we're seeing play in the last week. So if that's going to be a trend that continues, I don't see the scoring going up from there.
Fair. All right. And what do you think about things being down and defense being up this year?
I actually agree with Dre a lot on that top heavy part. I think that there is a lot of top heavy teams, and I think that's why we're kind of seeing what we're seeing there. I think a couple of things play into it. If you look at the turnover in just coaching, not just head coaching, just offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, position coaches, if you see the movement that happened in this past season, um, I can kind of see why there's people kind of getting off to slow starts and a lot of injuries. I mean, a lot of people keep talking about a lot of different teams and why they're not performing. And it's like, if you look at their injuries that they're going through right now and still being able to win games, and maybe they're not winning it in the fashion that you want them to win it in, but like, for example, obviously being a Philly fan, people keep saying, well, you're not blowing teams out. You're not blowing teams out. Your defense is letting this happen. Well, tell me the offensive injuries we've had. Okay, none. We haven't, right? Now tell me the defensive injuries we've had. Name it. I mean, besides Dallas Goedert on offense, all of our injuries have been defensively. Slay has been outplays. Bradbury's been outplays. Our slot corner hasn't been consistent because Avante Maddox has been out. Then we replaced him with Roby Coleman. He's I think I said that right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's been injured. Then our whole back end's been injured with safeties and everything. So I think injuries happen to play a part. I think that's a big part, but I also think it's top heavy. I think top heaviness and injuries have been playing the biggest part into why this is going on, because there's no reason why in a team battle like, we've seen Buffalo and Miami underperform. Even though that score was high, that time 42 something, like we Buffalo overperformed, but Miami underperformed. Where you thought like a high power offense like that, like you hammer the over, even though that hit, that's probably not the best one to explain, but like you would expect that game to either easily go, 80 points with what Miami's shown. But it's like the inconsistency, the matchups, I think, play a part into it. Um, but I'm gonna stay heavy on the top heavy part. I don't think there's that many good teams, and the teams that were supposed to be good haven't been great or good at all.
All right. Well, Kenny, what do you think about this going around the league?
I think for betting and things like that, I know it has been down across the league. I think it's a little bit more in the trenches. I was just looking up like different stats and things with this is actually one of the highest sack rates at 7.1 through week 7 since 2000 at a 7.2. It was reported actually earlier last week. I mean, I think that's that plays a role into the injuries, why we're seeing so many backup quarterbacks, like Dre had said and Philly had said. So I think it plays a big role. You're seeing like people that aren't usually playing at the same time, or they're not usually practicing at the same time. I mean, for good Lord's sake, I mean, Dobbs, he just was learning like half of his offensive like players, his teammates, their names like after the game. I think he had a quote that said, "That's next week." So it's like, I think you fall out of rhythm. I think sometimes I think with pretty bad offensive line play, I think this year plays a big role in, obviously the offense not being able to get off to a good start and so forth, so on. What was earlier, it had said that actually the scoring is down this league this year at 43.6 as an average of week 8, when a decrease from 47 points of last season's midpoint and the lowest since 2017. That was so. I mean, I think the betting is definitely playing a role in those things. They may be overdoing it a little bit, but I think there is a sweep across the league that isn't getting in the end zone as much as possible.
Okay.
A lot of points left on the board.
All right. Well,
I should say.
I don't really have much else to offer on the topic because I think you guys pretty well explained exactly how I feel about it. So in that case, Kenny, we're going to transition on over to the mid-season awards. So basically what we're going to be looking for here is who would you give the MVP award to at this point through the season? Who would you give the defensive MVP to? Who would you give the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the awards to?
I think right now I've been paying a little bit more attention, obviously, to the rookies with having Bryce under center. Going first, obviously you're paying attention to a few other rookies that are, behind center. I think, honestly, it's hard to give it to anybody other than like mid-season rookie of the year offensive to CJ. I mean, it has to go to Stroud, I think. Who better than, that's taken off into a team that's been able to kind of take him over. I think he's got a almost damn near spotless record of, throwing the ball very accurate. I mean, good spot he was put in, but that was he's definitely flown to it. Defensively, I think it's got to go to my partners here. It's got to go to Jalen Carter. I think who better to make a statement on the other side of the ball as a rookie and so fast. Like Dre had said, I think in a week prior, you definitely miss his presence when he isn't on the field. You notice when he's not on the field. And he obviously has a great rapport already with a lot of his teammates. MVP. I feel like it's going to be somebody out of the blue, but I don't really know a lot to, I guess, speak on it, to be honest with you. If I had to, I guess, toss a name out, it's got to be a quarterback somewhere. I know Mahomes is playing pretty well, but I know he's just had a couple stinkers here and there, but you're going to see some of the same, usual suspects. But I've been paying a little bit more attention, I think, personally, to the rookie of the year, to be honest.
So give us an MVP.
Mahomes. Never hurts. That's a good guy to go for.
And defensive player of the year.
To finish the year, or throughout so far?
So far, that's happened the first half of the season.
There's been a few, but you got a few of the normal people. But I think Garrett actually turns it up at the second half of the year. I think I'd like to see Myles Garrett maybe get something active, but I think he could have a good
So you
second half.
just don't answer the question the right way.
Myles Garrett.
Did you hear your explanation though? You said, "Yeah, Myles Garrett's really going to turn up the second half here."
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I haven't really seen anybody. Daniil Hunter. There you go. 10 sacks. He's already hitting double digits. There you go. But
is that what you're going to lock in here?
Sure. Yes. Daniil Hunter.
Alrighty.
There you go. Viking skull.
All right.
For a moment before I realized Oh shit, there's 2 Eagles again. But yeah, here we
Dre,
go.
Dre,
He just took Lassie out. Let's go, Dre.
All right.
let's hear what you got.
So, Kenny, you and I have near identical lists, except actually not near identical because you switched up at the end and went with Daniil Hunter when you had the right pick at first. But going down the list, I had MVP. Um, I thought about not being a homer here, but I am. To Kenny's point, it's probably going to go to a quarterback, even though there's a non-quarterback in the name of Tyreek Hill that I think is deserving. But I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts because out of all of the quarterbacks in the league, he is the most consistent in terms of playing at a high level. He's on, or was on, and actually still is on a pretty solid stretch between him and AJ Brown in terms of the connection and what they're doing in the passing game. Um, Also, not to take away from the fact that he's clearly hobbled on that knee and continues to play at a high level. And where last year he was averaging like 8+ carries a game, obviously that's been down since he hurt his knee. And now he's turning to his arm more. And, we're still winning games, not really missing the beat, finding different ways to win. So he is my MVP vote through this part of the season. Defensive MVP. Kenny, you had it right, bro. It's Myles Garrett. I mean, if I've ever seen somebody win defensive MVP off of one play, that's Myles Garrett. And I'm sorry, but that game where he jumped over the center to block the kick when they needed it the most, like that,
Mhm.
it doesn't get more big time, more clutch than that. And then obviously he is just an absolute menace on the field, high motor guy. I'm not sure what his numbers are. I don't have them in front of me, but I know he's,
Sitting
pressuring the
at 9.5
quarterbacks
right
at a
now,
high
sacks.
level. How much? 9.5?
9.5. Yep, he's
Yeah.
just a
Well,
half off of TJ Watt, or he's tied with TJ Watt and Max Crosby, and then you got
yeah.
Daniil with 10 flat.
Dude is pacing damn near 20 sacks. So
Right.
Myles Garrett is my defensive MVP through halfway. Offensive rookie, CJ Stroud. Dude is lights out. I mean, you look at how he played last week. What a game. Probably the game of the year so far, too, in the NFL. Who would have thought it would feature Baker Mayfield and CJ Stroud? But my goodness. And, just being able to, lead his team, stay poised. 470 yards, I think he threw for 5 touchdowns, setting rookie records. And then, not for nothing. Like, it's not like he has an all-star cast around him either. I mean, he's throwing to the likes of Nico Collins, who Noah Brown, or whoever their receivers are, and turning those dudes into absolute studs. So I got to give kudos to CJ Stroud. And my defensive rookie of the year has to go to Jalen Carter. Best player in the draft. I think he's proven that. Like Kenny said, when he's not on the field, he is missed. You notice it. When he's on the field, you see he's making highlight plays um, every few snaps, right? Like this dude is big time. I'm glad we drafted him. And he is my midseason defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
All right, and we're gonna move on to Ant. What do you got for?
topics?
All right. Yeah, I know. I thought you were about to skip
You
topics.
thought it
Like,
too?
damn,
Okay.
you skipped me and him. I was like, I thought he wasn't even gonna include himself. I'm like, all right, dope. All right. So I actually have a lot of the same things. I actually didn't want to go at a homer for MVP. So what I did is I did Tyreek Hill. And the reason why I
Hey,
went Tyreek
holy
Hill
shit,
is not
yeah.
just because of the
Great pick.
quarterback play being not great this year, is that Tua's play is a direct correlation to him not playing well. If you go back and see the games that Tyreek isn't getting, a lot of like the 125 plus yards when he's not doing that, the Dolphins also that offense isn't really ticking the way it's ticking, So it's like when Tyreek Hill's a little bit more in check, whether it be because of defensive schemes or whatever it happens to be. I feel like that offense actually really hinders on him more than it actually hinders on anything else And as good as Tua or not good as Tua is, like I think that the ball placement that Tua has is very, very elite. I don't care what anybody says. I personally think that he has elite ball placement. He might not have the strongest arm, but they also run so much short and so many behind the ball screens or behind the line screen, sorry, that he doesn't need to be throwing the ball deep to him. He doesn't need to throw a 70-yard bomb like Mahomes used to do to this guy. 6 yards and he's taking it to the crib. And when he's not, Tua's numbers obviously reflect it, and the team's win-loss record reflects it. In the most part, besides the Eagles game, every time he's been kept in check, they haven't won. He went off against the Eagles, but who hasn't?
I got one
I actually
stat
go
to
ahead.
support what you're saying, bro. So Mahomes, when he had Tyreek Hill, had 44 touchdowns of 20 or more air yards. Since Tyreek left, he only has 2 such touchdowns.
See,
Wow.
yeah, it's sick. Like Hill
Yeah,
is the
but
biggest game. Go ahead.
the one little caveat to that is that Mahomes' touchdown numbers didn't really dip that much from when Tyreek was there to when he left. He just did it in a different way.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you also have one of the smartest offensive coaches in the NFL. Period.
Hey,
Not
I just wanted to
now,
make sure. I
all
just wanted to
time.
make sure that Mahomes got his proper credit
No, I hear you.
because Tyreek Hill does whatever he's gonna do. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is. He will maximize because
Yeah,
of his skill set. But
and
Mahomes
Andy
was
Reid
able
also
to
is going to do what
pace
he's going to do.
with a
With
bunch of shitbirds at
yeah,
wide receiver.
yeah,
Mhm.
and
So
yeah. So as Eagles fans, we know what Andy Reid can do with shitbird wide receivers. Okay, and a quarterback that's not as good as Patrick Mahomes. No offense to Donovan McNabb, but anybody will tell you that there's no comparison between those two. And look what he did with James Thrash, Todd Pinkston. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm gonna go to defensive player of the year. Miles Garrett. I mean, hands down. I'm not even gonna go through everything. Done. Like we all already said enough.
yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did I miss Dre's offensive player of the year, or did he?
He said
We were
CJ.
doing.
He's Stroud, Mahomes, Carter, Hunt. No, that's kidding.
Wait.
Stroud, Hurts, Carter, Garrett.
No, but are we doing? There's defensive player of the year and offensive player of the year as well, right?
I
Or
didn't
Oh, we
put
just
that.
did Roy's
That
and
that wasn't
MVP.
one. Yeah, he didn't.
oh, my bad. Okay, well,
Oh, but you're right that we
It
did
would have been
offensive
Tyreek
like
for the
rookie of the
record.
year.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm throwing mine in because I wrote it down because I had AJ Brown, and I ain't gonna go into details, but my offensive player of the year would be AJ Brown. Offensive rookie of the year, CJ Stroud. Gonna let y'all
14 touchdowns and
what
one
you guys already
interception.
said, right? Yeah, I'm gonna let you what you guys said just be my words. And Jalen Carter, same thing. So go ahead,
Yep.
Emma.
I got Stroud, Carter, Garrett, and I'm also going with Tyreek Hill for MVP. We talked about it before. I don't think there's a quarterback that has separated enough from any one of the other quarterbacks. I mean, you look at this. You got Tua with 19-7, Sam Howell 14-9, Pat Mahomes 17-8, Josh Allen 18-9, Jalen Hurts 15-8, Kirk Cousins 18-5, Stroud 14-1. Like nobody has separated themselves like in a big way touchdown wise. I don't think Tyreek Hill probably ends up winning it at the end of the year because I think it will end up a quarterback. But I think through these, like the first half of the game or first half of the season, he is definitely going to be the MVP for the first half of the season. Jalen Carter for defensive rookie of the year, and then Myles Garrett is going to be defensive player of the year for me. So we can move on here. We're going to do a special little segment. We're going to do the wildest, most unique names in NFL history, and we're going to do a little draft to see who can come up with the team that has the wildest names. So everybody get your list prepared. We got the
And,
draft order
Are we
set.
having them vote?
The
Or-
order, if we actually go by the order, it's pronounced Dak. So it's Dre, Ammo, Anthony, Kenny.
Yep.
Did you
Makes
really
me
have
wanna
to use
throw up.
DAC as the acronym?
Okay.
Dak.
You guys are a bunch of dacks.
Yak.
No, you know what it is? It's like you ever heard that Dak? Like you talking about a quarterback? Dak.
All right. So
Yeah.
Dre, you are first on the clock here.
I am
Who you gonna-
on the clock. All right. So this is tough, right? Because there's a lot of wild names out there. A lot of names that also kind of just are ironic because they fit with maybe what position that player played. I didn't necessarily expect to have the first overall pick here, but since I do, I'm gonna kind of just go with the token name. I feel like in this situation, and I'm gonna go with Dick Buckets.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to say like his teams and position, or I think most people
Nah,
know Dick.
No,
we all
that's it.
know.
We
We good.
Yeah, we just
Alright.
need the name. All right. So then I got the second pick here. I'm not gonna waste anybody's time with this big old long productive intro here.
The shade.
I'm gonna take this one before Kenny can do it. I'm gonna take Tim Biakabatuka.
No, say his first name, fucker. If you're gonna draft him,
No.
say his first name. You can only draft him
No.
if you say his whole name.
No.
I used to actually cheer for the guy.
How long
Ant,
did
you're
it
on
take
the
you to
clock.
fucking pronounce that?
It's
All right.
Tamonga Biakabatuka.
All right. So my first name is gonna be Fair Hooker.
I saw that. Yeah.
You know? That's a fair
Yeah.
hooker.
All right, Kenny, you're back on the clock
Yeah.
here. You got all right. No, you're on the clock. The first time you got back to backs.
Ooh, okay. So the first one here, I'm gonna go classic TJ Hujmanzada.
Okay.
Hujmanzada. And coming around on the second round, I gotta go for one of my favorite names of all time, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. I gotta.
Knew it was
That's
gonna be there.
That's a solid name. It
All
has
right.
to be.
All right.
All right, and you're back on the clock here.
Young Hoku.
Young Way. Damn.
Hey,
My draft is
Right.
dwindling.
All right, I'm on the clock. I'm
We
gonna
went
take
with a fair hooker and a young hoe.
Ashton Yabuti.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good one too.
Create a character.
All right, Dre, you're on the clock.
Oh my goodness. All right. So now that I got beat up a little bit in terms of you guys taking my names, I'm gonna take a second on this one. All right, yeah, I got this. So with my number 2 pick, I'm gonna go with Captain Munnerlyn.
Hey, another
Damn.
Panther legend.
And you're on the clock for your back-to-back.
All right. So the next one, I'm gonna go with Lil Jordan Humphrey.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
All right, that brings me back up. And I am going to go with Legadoo Nane.
All right, now you're just making shit up.
That's another fucking Panther,
I
dude.
swear to God,
I
bro.
was like, I know that.
I swear-
Kenny,
Wait a minute.
Kenny, confirm for me.
What the hell did you just say? What word did you just say?
You don't
Are you
know-
trying to
oh,
say Starla Tulale?
No, you piece of shit. Oh wait, Ant, you're on the clock. That's my fault.
Oh, we ain't gonna verify that name that you just said because I don't even
Bro.
I ain't never
understand
heard
that.
that shit a day in my
But
life.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Rock Yasin.
Hey. Oh, I do remember Nane. I do actually. He was a receiver.
Oh my God.
I do remember. Yeah,
That could
he
be
was
that
one
They
of
found it.
Cam's that they tried to build talent around. They tried to help Cam.
Kenny, you got back to
You
backs.
did him wrong. I'm on wax saying it. You did Cam wrong. I'm gonna go Haloti Nata.
Okay.
I just like that. That's a fun one to say.
That is a fun
Haloti
one.
Nata. Who's that
All right.
Saragusa guy?
You're
Another
back.
one.
Oh, is it me again? Oh shit! Back
Yep.
around.
That's
All
the
right, that's my apologies. We did
definition
that
of
one
back to
again.
backs.
That makes sense. Back to back. With this one.
All right, you're getting passed up. You took Alex
wait,
Smith.
where is it? Oh, is it? Oh, all right. So OCU Manura. I like that one.
Look at that guy.
Just fun names to say. That's kind of where my strategy's going.
All right. And Dominican too.
Missed that one. Damn, that's a Hall of Famer, and I missed it. That's good.
My last one.
Ooh.
I think no one's gonna remember this guy.
I'm gonna take.
We all remember her, but
I'm gonna take Bronco Nagurski.
Nagurski.
bro, I was gonna say him right now too,
Yeah.
but I was looking it up and I'm like,
I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have let him slide in the draft.
I was literally just about to say Bronco Nagurski.
All right, Dre, you got back to backs now.
Back to backs. All right. So in my back to backs, I'm gonna go with a couple hyphenated names here. I'm gonna go with Ben Jarvis Grinellis.
The
Fuck
law
you, I had
firm.
that too.
And then I'm gonna go with my man Ha Ha Clinton Dix.
Okay, I had that too, you bitch.
All right.
Fucker.
He hit that old man in the barbershop cadence. He said, "You bitch."
Yeah, bitch.
All right. I'm gonna go with
You always ruin my stories. You
with my
bitch.
last pick here.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You lag.
Prince of Mukamura.
Okay.
All right.
Hurry
That's
up.
gonna put this douchebag back on the clock.
Namdi
No.
Asamoah.
Namdi. We don't speak his name around these parts.
I was going to say, wasn't he a
Unfortunately,
part
as
of
an
the
Eagle
dream
fan,
team?
It's hitting
Yeah,
right
what-
here, but
Kenny,
no dream, bro.
this is your last pick of the draft, and then you're gonna follow it up with your final honorable mention.
Let's go. Longtime Raider, Sebastian Janikowski.
Okay.
That's a skip of a rock in our fucking lake if I've ever heard one. Stay out there. I had it written down somewhere. The hell we go. Who is that other one? Oh, and our great Muhsin Muhammad.
Hell yeah.
It's our guy.
And what do you got for an honorable mention?
Damn, I had a couple over here, but Uche Nawari.
You son of a bitch, man. Listen. That was going to be my honorable mention because dude passed away this year and he was a former Jaguar. Cool dude.
You're welcome.
And you stole
He
it from
honored
me.
him.
You stole
It'll be this way.
Sounds like you should have been higher in your draft board.
Yeah. Well, you could always take Guy Wimper. The tackle from the Jaguars.
The guy went.
No, I'm gonna go with that is
Richie
a good one, but I'm gonna go
Incognito.
with it. No, I'm
You're
not gonna
definitely.
pick that.
no, just
I'm gonna pick this one because I always
no.
liked having him on my Madden teams in the back in the day. Muhammad Massaquoi.
Saquai. What would he play? What was his position?
Wide
corner?
receiver.
Oh, I feel like I would have ran into him a
And
couple of
Dre,
times.
last honorable mention.
Fuck you guys, I'm taking 2, and I'm allowed to because they're brothers and they have equally awesome names. Equanimous and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay, Dre is
That was
immediately
coming.
disqualified from the competition for trying to cheat the system with the last pick.
100%.
I don't know what this dude is on this
to pick
football
one.
season, but he has
It's like tag
just
teams, like in
If y'all gonna
WWE.
make
cheating.
me
They're like a
pick
package
one,
deal.
I'm going with Equanimous. All right. If I have to pick, I'm going with Equanimous. But Sun God is the dope ass thing.
That man has a
Yeah.
high GPA.
All right, so that's gonna
You imagine
wrap
not being able to do simple math?
It's gonna wrap the draft here.
Don't be this way.
So that's gonna bring us to our next segment. And what do you got for us in the way
All right.
of overhyped?
All right. So my overhyped segment for this week is how losing teams get more hype off of a loss than the winning team, and how all of a sudden losing is a positive. So directly related to the Eagles game, you had these losers talking about how this is how we went into how do you go into a game or come out of a game after a loss feeling better than how you went into the game? So did you go in there already thinking that you were going to lose by big, and because you
That's
lost
what
by
it is. They thought
small,
they were gonna get
you
blown
felt
out.
better? Like you
How do you
thought you were going to get blown out?
how do you go into a segment when you're gonna get a segment about the Eagles and just make another segment about the Eagles?
Because this
Yo,
isn't
let the
about
man
the
Passionate
cook.
about this shit.
Let him
I
cook.
just want to know if we need to say that this is an Eagles podcast because
No, it's not. Because this is what I was
and
saying. How
Dre,
I think that everyone.
don't think that you're all safe over there either, because you find little sneaky ways to get the Eagles in there in different segments too, just so you guys can push that agenda.
Okay, coming from Uche
Can you hear
Noari over
this
here, you wanted to
kettle
throw
over
the
here?
Jaguar in here under honorable
Fuck this
mention.
guy.
This guy tried to throw Jaguars in there all the time. He's like, I ain't gonna
I'm
name
trying to figure out
names
what
like
he's
Trevor
talking about.
Lawrence. He's just a hater. You already know this guy. Duh. But no, as I was saying earlier, is not just as the Cowboys losing, other teams have lost, and they keep going off of this. Oh, but this was a good loss, and this showed that. When have losses been good? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but when
losses
when
are
Moral
good when it
victories
fits.
are from minor
No, no.
league coaches.
Listen,
Yeah.
losses are good when it's convenient for the narrative that the person's trying to spin. That's what it
Facts,
is.
and
It
that's
just
it.
comes down to somebody trying to spin a narrative about a team. Like, oh well, I really like this team and I think they're good. So that loss was actually good and they should have done it. Like, dude, you can look at positives in a loss, but you can't start
Yeah,
looking
I
at
feel like you can look
positives
at.
of the loss and weighing them higher than the positives from a team that won the game.
I
And
feel like you can look at those only. There's one circumstance in my eyes that you can look at those as a positive loss, and that is if you are just starting off as a first year head coach, first year, like for instance,
young
Kenny
team.
here with, even though Frank Reich isn't a first year head coach, he's the first year coach there with a brand new quarterback. Now, if they went into San Francisco and battled with a top team and lost by 4 points, then you're like, or 5 points, you're like, all right, wow, like
We have
that's
something to build
that's a
on.
right. That's a positive
Right.
loss because we're on a rebuilding year. Like we shouldn't even be competing with these guys with what we have, but we're showing that we're already starting a building block where this year shouldn't have even been a that type of block that we should be building. So I understand that, but when you're a competing team, there
Right.
is no loss against another top flight team that if it wasn't for help by the refs in the last drive, you wouldn't have even been in position to even win
Take
that
like the
game.
moral
And just like
victory.
always, right, and just like always, like the bad team that you are, when you have a chance to become, victorious with great field position, with this, that, or the third, you're just inept to being a good team and you find a way to lose. Where the Eagles have found a way to win, y'all find a way to lose. So my overhype segment is how losing teams continuously find a way when it again, like Amo said, when it fits the narrative to what people want to talk about, and the
Right.
media always finds a way to have Dallas losses as a
For
positive, or
sure.
certain teams as a positive with these losses. Like I don't get it, but I want to hear your guys' thought.
I mean, yeah, I think it
Not
all
wrong.
comes down to performance relative to expectation, right? Like, because you kind of said it, right? Like, if you're a contending team and you lose to a contending team, then there is no, positive from that because, that's just, all right, well, you've met your match. Like, when you look at Dallas or San Francisco, like, they ain't beating them. Styles make fights and just San Francisco has their number, right?
Right.
So now, with that being said, if Dallas goes in and they beat, or not maybe beat San Fran, but they lose, but it's a very close game, they have a chance to win it at the end. To your point, right? Or I don't know if this is to your point or not, but how do you look at Dallas walking away from that when, oh, I expected them to lose because last time they played, they lost by 30. This time they
I'll
only
tell
lost by
you how.
3. Yeah.
I'll tell you how, not to cut you off, but I'll tell you how. Go back to the NFC Championship game when Dallas lost a close one on the last play of the last drive because they wanted to put Zeke at center. Okay, but everything that led up to that last drive, they had the ball with a chance to win that San Francisco game. And what happened? The Cowboys cowboyed. They're just inept to winning. It's
Mm. Yeah. I just like to your. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, my point, y'all are fitting that fucking cowboy narrative right now by talking about them. Everybody's always talking about the Cowboys, whether you're talking about them in a positive way or a negative way, you're feeding that narrative and giving them more reason to continue talking about the goddamn Cowboys.
But there's other teams like this too where they get more
What
praise.
other
I
team?
just like I said, I just happen to use them. How about Cincinnati Bengals? I mean, how often have you seen a team start off slow like this? And I understand that they've proven a lot of people wrong and
They
they've
just
been in
beat
the
the Bills,
AFC
bro.
Championship game. I understand that. They've been in the AFC Championship game last year. They were in it, they were in the Super Bowl the year before that. But just because they've done it 2 years before, now all of a sudden, like this is the so a team can just be flat on their face in the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden we're just going to assume that they're going to kick it up at the end of the year. Like that, these
But
losses
see,
in the
I don't.
beginning don't mean the same as the Eagles loss. Like they don't mean the
Yeah.
same as a Jaguar loss. They don't mean the same as like that's where I'm talking. I don't mean just the Cowboys. I was using them as a reference, but I was hoping someone would bring up Cincinnati. But I'll bring them up. Like Cincinnati can be 5-4 right now, or 5-3 at the bottom of their division, and people are still talking about, oh no, they'll represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Because
You're talking
they
about the
do that
fourth.
shit every year, and though that's different, bro. Like
I
if
hear
you look
you,
at the
but yo,
Cowboys,
that's
right? The Cowboys are a team that have regular season success and lose when it matters the most. Cincinnati is a team that we
Second
have
round.
seen for the last few years now turn up when it matters the most. So with a
right.
team like Cincinnati, I'm not gonna overreact to regular season wins and losses because I know when come playoff time, like no team wants to match up with them in the playoffs,
Okay.
regardless of what their record is.
If they can make it there.
That's yeah.
All right.
That's good. I mean, that's perfect. Yeah.
Well, we're already like halfway done explaining it, so we might as well bring this up here. Ant, why don't you just finish out since you explained half of the Eagles already here.
I'll just go into.
Yeah, how was this week? Yeah.
I think the Eagles
You
played.
played that Dallas Cowboys team you're talking about here, so let's hear
Yeah,
it.
I think that the Eagles played a really good game. I think the fourth quarter got away from us from a lot of different ways. You know what I mean? I think the Eagles got a little conservative. I think that a couple calls went against us. I think a couple calls went for us too before then. But I think that specifically in the fourth quarter, a lot of things were just going south. They held the ball, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, it was 11 minutes and some change, and the Eagles held it for 3 minutes and some change. So when you hold the ball, let's just call it 3.5 minutes, and the other people hold it for 11 and a half minutes, everything should be super lopsided. But I believe if I'm not mistaken, Cowboys only ended up scoring 6 in the fourth quarter. So our defense ended up hunkering down when we really needed to. We had a lot of bending, but we did not break. Um, I think that a hobbled Jalen is still better than a fully perfectly healthy Dak Prescott. I don't care which way you slice it. If you look at the last part of that game,
Crazy to say.
if you look at the last part of that game, I think that you can probably account 50 yards of passing um for Dak Prescott on just, garbage time, kind of, in a sense, on that last drive. A completion here, this, that, moving the ball back, that 20-yard completion to CeeDee Lamb at the end of the game where we were literally letting them, so that's 20 yards for CeeDee, 20 yards for him. So some numbers can look inflated, but I think that Jalen on a hurt knee still had a better game than Dak Prescott. And I don't care which way you slice it. I know Dak Prescott had a great game throwing, but Sam Howell had a great game throwing against our our hurt defense. So that's how I feel. Regardless of how anyone else takes it, that's my opinion. I know that you can see the stats underneath. He got 17 for 23 for 207, where I think Dak was 29 out of 30 something for 370 yards, something like that. But I still think that Jalen does everything he needs to do to win, where Dak finds a way to lose. You can't take that sack. You can't throw it not in the end zone. You can't step out of bounds. Just Jalen Hurts had a scramble on a hurt knee and cut the corner and got a first down. And this guy's got perfectly good knees and ankles and everything and couldn't make it. So
Dre, uh, how do you feel? Do you feel similarly to Ant about how that game was? Do you think that Jalen played better than Dak? I mean, obviously you guys got the win. Um, but I'd like to see if you feel the same way.
Yeah, so a win is a win, right? We win ugly, and again, I am a firm believer that these gritty wins will help us because we could learn from these wins, and we should have lost that game. I'll be completely honest with you. Dak was the best player in the field last week. He had a phenomenal game. He probably had the best game I've seen him play all season. They were absolutely carving us up. This Tolbert kid was killing us. CeeDee Lamb, they were moving him all over the place, and he seemed to be, he had a big day against us. And despite all of that, we found a way to win. I'll be honest, I think a part of the reason we won is because Dallas is inept in the red zone. I think in the fourth quarter, they had the ball in scoring position in the red zone, I think 3 times. They came away with 6 total points. So that's not necessarily anything that we're doing. I mean, I'll give our defense credit, but like to get down in the red area 3 times and come away with just 6 points, that speaks to bigger issues with that team. We really do need to hunker down a more consistent ball on the defensive side of the ball. And Ant has alluded to the injuries, and obviously that is a big part of it. Um, also, just the new DC, also just still trying to figure things out. But the one thing I do appreciate about our defense is when we need to turn up, we turn up. Like Brandon Graham was quiet
And
for
we
the
had a
first
lot
three
of broken
quarters, but made
plays.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
We had a
But like
lot of
Brandon
broken
Graham was
plays that
absent
make
most of
him
the
look
game.
better.
Mhm. And I think, he turned up at the end. Hassan Reddick, again, just with timely uh, plays being made down there. And then kind of that bend, don't break mentality where, that I think about that catch to the tight end. I forgot his name, but he was like a half inch short of the goal line. The other play where
Grayson.
Dak tried to run for the touchdown and we helicoptered him. Brandon Graham
Hey,
chasing Dak,
yo.
forcing him to step out of pause. Uh, Brandon Graham chasing Dak, forcing him to step out of bounds. Like a lot of those just timely plays is what I was proud to see, but just I would like to see us clean it up a little bit. As we approach the money time, playoff time.
And you guys have a bye week this week, right?
Which is huge. Yeah, we need to.
Yes, we are. We do have a bye week, and I do actually. I have one question for Ant. That's the Eagles related question, which is Ant. Um, real question: Eagles team MVP, right? What scenario do you think the Eagles would have a better record? If the team was the same except Marcus Mariota was the quarterback, or Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, but there's no AJ Brown on it? In what situation do we have a better record?
I mean, no AJ. Marcus Mariota stinks. I saw him live. This guy's afraid to throw the football. If you're talking about the one that came out of college, I would take Mariota. You know what I mean? Because of the potential, right? Just off of both players. But Jalen Hurts has put every ounce of effort into becoming a pro, where Marcus Mariota, I think, relied on his pure ability and never really honed in on the pro aspect of the league. And he
So
had
this
his
is
good
I don't
games,
mean to
but
disguise it because
Kenny,
obviously
you see
yeah,
what's happening here, right?
obviously Jalen Hurts is the better
Enjoying the
quarterback. I'm
show.
just talking about this season because obviously Jalen is hurt. He's hobbled too. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
just this season, right? Basically a hobbled Jalen. You know what I'm saying?
Pablo
That's the
Jalen.
comparison
Yeah,
to Mariota.
yeah, still taking him.
Yeah. All right. So everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Eagles podcast this week.
It's been real.
We
Yo,
had a really
Appreciate
good
you
don't be
all.
haters, man.
we had a
That
really
was a
great
great
time
question.
Share,
discussing
like,
the
subscribe.
Eagles. I just can't
Well,
wait
that's what
to
happens when
continue.
our team is 8-1 and the best team on the podcast. We deserve more shine. So deal with it. Get better.
I can't. That's fair.
Yeah, and Jaguars. I don't want to hear it because I hope I pray
All
for you,
right.
Ammo. No,
So
before you go to Kenny, I pray for you that you guys beat San Francisco this week, because next podcast I am going to dog you if you guys don't.
that's fine.
That's a
Kenny,
big test.
so the Panthers came off their first win of the season against the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
And then they followed it up with another AFC South matchup where they played the Indianapolis Colts, the Gardner Minshew-led Indianapolis Colts.
Fuck yeah.
Got to see Gardner live. Yeah.
This one did not go the same
Oh,
way
shit.
that Texans
Another
one
pick.
went. So,
Right.
Kenny, why don't you run that one down
Man.
for us?
Well, I will keep it brief. You got CJ Stroud breaking rookie records. You got Bryce almost tying a record. The record for most pick sixes in a game is 3. So we were almost in our bag here. We almost had some rookie record breaking.
Kenny
Almost had
Moore
some
would be
NFL
your
history.
second leading receiver in touchdowns. Caught from Bryce Young, by the way.
Yes, he is. I think he would have been an amazing Colt. He was finding them all day. And I think
Fuck
he
yeah.
had the he had a cannon. He was finding those Colts players left and right. And you turned, he was hitting another. No, I can't give up on Bryce. It was another rough game. Offensive line has all but just crucified the poor man. Not to use a big word, but yeah, no, he's getting crushed back there. But the little man keeps getting back up, and there's no offense in little man, but
Wow, that's
yeah,
so
he keeps
offensive.
getting up. He keeps he keeps getting rocked. I did see a
I don't
stat
know about
earlier
you, Amp,
today.
but I'm offended.
That's why I grew up in North Andover.
You know, what can we do?
How
But I
dare you?
did see a stat though, with someone that is on the podcast that has faith in their quarterback. He has pretty similar statistics to the first 6 starts of Trevor Lawrence.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
well, Kenny,
Fuck
let me
yeah.
tell you something. That is a
So-
not good thing because Trevor Lawrence had an absolutely abysmal rookie season. So if you're saying, you don't have the Urban Meyer
It's
excuse.
we have the Frank Reich excuse.
Frank Reich
And
is
now
Peyton
when
Manning
Thomas
also
Brown
had a
takes over,
pretty bad rookie year.
okay.
He
Are you
did.
going to tell me Bryce Young is Peyton Manning?
He's close and
No.
height.
Kenny, I do have to ask you this. We are
Yes.
halfway through the first season of the rookie year. I know you say you're not going to give up on Bryce, so that's not really what I'm asking. But do you wish you could have CJ Stroud instead of Bryce Young? Do you wish that they went that route?
I have thought about it. Obviously throughout the season, seeing 14-1 touchdown to interception ratio, but I think I have to stand on my word. Like even before the draft, I was Bryce. I think he has the intangibles to. I mean, I know coming off the 2 pick sixes, that's hard to be like, oh, he reads things amazingly, but I really do think he has what it takes. I don't know in what combination, because obviously he has flashes where he kind of has that spidey sense where he can tell if people are around him, which unfortunately last week was every snap. But I still think we've made the best decision. I think you have to rally behind your guy. I love seeing him. I've got to see him 3 times live, and every single time, winning or losing, obviously, he's in that tunnel. He's dapping up every player that's going in the tunnel. I mean, he has what it takes. He's not used to losing, but he's
Is that
still
all that it takes? A couple little handshakes and you're a league MVP?
not the MVP
We'll get him
yet, but
next time.
I think that's right. Let's get them, guys. I mean, I do think that is a good staple to start for a cultureless team, that's basically on a complete rebuild, not just a roster, but your front office, your owner. Like literally, we are a name of what we kind of held kind of near and dear, like to keep pounding. I mean, we say it, but it's like to the people that haven't been there through those hard times, nobody feels it the same way. There were people leaving at the first half. It's you got half of them. It's rough, man. There's like 22% of them, 20% of the stadium was Colts fans. We have away games at our home games, and we have to fix that from top to bottom. And
You better start winning if you want to fix that. Kenny.
Yeah. Yep. Too much. Too long on a 117.
We did do a little bit of discussion about this before. Early on in the season, we were discussing Bryce Young and his first couple performances, and we brought up a stat known as yards per attempt. And after I brought that stat up and talking about Bryce being very, very low on that, you then proceeded to tell me about the yards per attempt every single week since that point. And it's funny because we've been talking about Bryce Young so far, and conveniently, I didn't hear any mention of the yards per attempt for Bryce Young this week. And I was just wondering if you knew what the number was so you could fill in the rest of the class.
That is a whopping 4.4 yards. A throw.
I'm just
Off
wondering
of
if the
39 attempts.
4.4. I'm just wondering if that 4.4 was the reason that it wasn't mentioned this week.
The 2 pick sixes I felt held a lot more prevalence over the QBR.
So
The
does yards per
11.2.
attempt factor in the attempts that ended up running in the opposite direction?
There would have been a lot
funny
more
if
yards. It would have been higher.
He would have had negative 0.3 yards per attempt.
Yeah, they would have reversed his entire stat sheet. It would have been just done for.
Negative 13.7 yards per throw. Yeah.
No, somebody
Well,
needs to come out and say that Tepper's offering to shave their legs.
Kenny's trying to find ways to just get rid of another owner again.
We gotta go.
All right.
I think we've spent enough time talking about this awful team. You have probably one of the worst matchups,
horrible guys,
on the entire NFL slate for the entire season upcoming on Thursday.
That's gonna be fucking terrible.
We got the 2 teams that might end up with the first and second overall pick, but both picks will be in Chicago. So, how do you think that game ends up? What's the score there?
That's a win-win for Chicago.
And a lose-lose for the Panthers.
Seriously. And Fields is not coming in. I think they said that today, right?
Yeah,
filming on Wednesday.
It's the other kid that's starting. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's just gonna be sloppy, but I think this is gonna be on the ground. I think if their scoring is by rushing. So I'm gonna give it a 17-9.
Who wins?
Oh, that's Chicago.
All right. Well,
it's rough.
That'll wrap up the games that were played this week with the first little preview for the Thursday night game. And then to finish up the recaps, we'll talk about the Jaguars bye week. Not a lot doing. They made a trade last week. We talked about it last week. The only really important thing is about the Jaguars that happened this bye week. Andre Sisco, Tyson Campbell will be coming back. That is huge because they are 2 important pieces of our secondary. That'll be very important for a huge matchup coming up against San Francisco. I think the Jaguars keep the train moving, and I think they're going to win 24-21 over San Francisco.
Oh shit!
It's going to be a close one. The Jaguars have, and I said this to Kenny before, the Jaguars have a very opportunistic defense. They see ball, get ball. They have an NFL leading takeaway on the defense there. So I think that they're going to give Brock Purdy some problems, and I think that's going to be the difference for the Jaguars, and they get it out with a field goal to win the game.
Okay.
So that will finish the recaps of the teams for the week with a little preview. The Eagles were on a bye week, so no preview to be had for that.
Yeah.
So we are now going to move on.
The bye week, but he's still going to be in first place. That's crazy.
All right.
Nobody can catch us.
Dre, why don't you pull up your pick'ems for us
right now?
Why don't you pull up your pick'ems,
because
you're in last place. So why don't you tell us?
Be an asshole.
I don't know any other way. So last place, if you could come to the front of the class here and tell us about the upsets of the week.
So the fix is in, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, and also, we would not recommend taking his advice either.
Well, anyway,
with that being,
if y'all want to lose your parlay, follow this guy.
I've been hitting.
If you
What
want to
week are we
make
in?
money, fade everything this man says.
We're week 10, right?
Yes,
See,
sir.
All right. So here goes the money picks. I'm about to throw all of these in one massive parlay and cash out. I'll be live from my island next week.
Good
Uh,
job.
in terms of upsets, I have. Oh, I have the Cardinals over the Falcons.
Okay.
I have the Saints over the Vikings, and I have the Texans over the Bengals,
Oh, wow.
and
Damn.
I have the Patriots over the Colts.
Oh, wow.
I am curious. I don't want to slow it up, but real quick, the Bengals lost. What did we?
This dude
How did
just
you
wants
come?
me to be angry. That's all he wants.
I'm
Not
truly
about
interested.
you.
He just
I
that's all it is.
again, there's every week in the NFL, right? There's something that surprises us. So
Mhm.
I'm just looking at the narratives. Bengals
Rolling
had
with
a
the
tough
under.
win last week. Texans are trending in a great direction right now, especially after the thriller. So
That's fair. Hey,
I'm
hey, let's go. Riding
momentum.
the hot hand.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. And what do you got for upsets this week?
I don't.
This dude just went
The
straight
only
down the
upset,
green beans.
the upset I have is Colts over Patriots. Honestly, everything else that I have here is
Wait,
actually
You
straight
have
down the
Colts or
green.
you
I
have
mean, if you
Patriots?
look, I have Colts over the Patriots. Oh
That's
yeah,
not
that's
an
sorry, my
green.
bad, my bad. Yeah, it's not even an ups. Yeah, my bad. I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah, I actually have no upsets. I have
So you went straight
sorry,
green beans.
Panthers over the Bears. That's the one I was looking at. I fucked up on the line. My
Ah,
bad. Panthers over the Bears.
I would like it.
All
I
right.
would like it as a moral victory to
Yeah, I'm
give
like, yo, I know it was
to
right
give them
there.
a
I was
worse
looking at the wrong
pick
line.
with
My
our
bad.
pick. That's truly what I
Panthers
want.
over the Bears. Yeah, because I don't see how.
Just
I
just
don't
so
see
we
how.
are clear, Ant is in first place, tied with me at 86 and 50. And he has one upset for the week.
Ooh,
And what do you have?
And what do I have? What do I have? Let's see here.
Frere
I-
Jacques, Frere. Fucking
Kenny.
don't leave-vous.
I have the Saints over the Vikings. I have the Jaguars over the Niners. I have the Cardinals over the Falcons. And that's all I got for upsets this week. So
What's the word on Kyler for this week?
He's-
Is
Oh, I
he
picked.
green
playing.
light?
Yeah, I
He's
picked your
back.
Jaguars over the
Oh, shit.
49ers too.
Nice. Let's go.
and Kenny,
Pretty
close
damn
us
bold
out
before
with
a Call of
your,
Duty drops, isn't it?
Call of Duty hasn't dropped yet, so
I know.
he
I
can
said
play.
it's pretty bold to do it beforehand. With upsets, I have the Saints over the Vikings. I have the Jets over the Raiders. Everything else is green.
All right. Well, I think that'll about wrap us up for this episode this week. You can
Woo!
you can check us out every week. We record on Wednesday nights. We post on Thursdays. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. You can find us at the Bro Stop Yelling podcast. All right. Till next week.